Hello. For my current event, I chose flooding in the Mississippi River Basin. Our guided question is, how did flooding affect the environment? Some questions that you can ask your students before you begin this unit are, what experiences do you have with flooding? Who's lived in a house or an apartment that's flooded? Or how do the roads flooding affect students coming to school? Because in my area, with how rural it is, students are familiar with flooding being an issue in them getting to school. If the school buses can't cross their roads, there'll either be a delay or it'll be canceled. During the unit, you can be having students answering, how can we prevent flooding, or how can we protect houses from flooding? Some causes of the flooding ultimately fall back to climate change, with an increase in the above average rainfall, or snow melting in the Midwest increasing the amount of water runoff into the Mississippi River, which leads to increase of water with dams collapsing upstream and collapsing levees. Impacts on the environment and humans all flow into one another, with the flood causing a loss of multiple acres of crops and millions lost in agricultural revenue, and a loss of wildlife and habitats and displaced river wildlife, and infrastructure damage from the flooding, which impacts humans in a loss of their homes, some loss of life, some volunteers' lives being in danger while they're trying to go in and rescue or provide aid during the flooding, and also having jobs shut down, which leads to a loss of income. All of this surmounting in a loss of food, a loss of shelter, and a loss of jobs and loss of income for both people living in the area, working in the area, and the animals that inhabit that area. Some standards that I connected it to in my third grade classroom for beginning with social studies. I chose this cultural event knowing that in social studies in third grade, we already discuss the Mississippi River, and being able to locate it on topographical features of a physical map. And we can tie that into our science unit with how all of this flooding affects our rocks and soils, with obtain, evaluate, and communicate information about the physical attributes of the soil, and making observations of the local environment to construct an explanation of how water has made changes to that soil over time. And one way that I connected the math standard in is, one of our ideas for our STEM plan is to have students calculate the area of land in the area of a house while they engineer a flood-proof house. So one of our STEM standards is to generate and compare multiple possible solutions to a problem based on how well each is likely to meet the criteria and the constraints of the problem. Some of my resources and references for this, my first article that I looked at a lot was the biome.org article, which is a scientific article that you would need to most likely break down more for the elementary level. I might take some key points of it and help students navigate that journal, or break it down into a PowerPoint for them. The Georgia Standards of Excellence, of course, and MississippiToday.org actually provided a nice streamline of articles in chronological order of each time the Mississippi River flooded and the impacts it had on the humans and the land around it. And then Nature.org provided many facts and scientific tidbits about the Mississippi River flooding and the impact that it has on the world around it. So thank you for listening.